horse, because a horse represents power. That's what he saw. He said, "Thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire." Did not at the beginning he said, let's take 500 kiloton nuclear warhead, for example, which he was trying to be modest. He said, let's just take one of these. These are one of the strongest ones, but it's not the strongest one, but it's one of the strongest one. So it says having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, meaning that's how fierce they was. It says, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Those are talking about those nuclear missiles. Now, if you have no understanding and you try to read that literally, you're going to think that there's a bunch of horses out there running around with lion faces shooting fire and brimstone. No. It says, by these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke. I told you about the smoke. He explained to you about the smoke. So you got people who's going to be within the blast that's going to be eviscerated. Then you got the people who's outside the blast who's going to burst in flames. And then you got the brimstone, so you got people who are going to just die at the mere contact of being around, which is a horrible death, of being around the blast. It says, okay, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths, for their power is in their mouth, because once they detonate, boom. It says, and in their tails, because that's their speed. You know, to get to Russia, if you go to New York to Russia, that flight takes 10 to 11 hours. But a missile shot from Russia can reach New York in 10 minutes. That's speed, man. And if you know anything about physics, velocity is just speed in a direction. So if you got something going that fast that can reach across thousands, hundreds of miles of distance going that fast, imagine the impact. The impact, what is it, mass times velocity? So something going that fast, the impact is going to be huge. If it takes 11 hours to get from New York to Russia on planes, and those things are fast as hell, but it takes 10 minutes for a missile to reach here, you know how fast some things are going? And imagine the impact that when they detonate, if they actually hit the ground. That's huge, man. That's why it says that's the power in their tails. It's for their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents. And we all know what a missile looks like when it's flying, right? It's like a serpent. It says, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. This is what John the Revelator saw, and he heard the number, which was 200,000, meaning 200 million. And it's coming directly towards this place. So you got this one blast, which he explained. This one blast. I'll bring it back.
Upon detonation, a fireball as hot as the sun would expand to a radius of 800 meters. Those near the blast would be vaporized.
So imagine just one going off, but then 200 million. The Lord is angry, man, and he's very angry at this place. Now, this is the book of Revelation chapter 18. Verse 2, it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now, if you knew in this truth, you would assume like, oh yeah, that has to be Babylon, aka America, because everybody's just a foul spirit and unclean. But it's actually talking literal, because the scriptures, you know, you got the dietary law, you got the clean animals, you got the unclean animals. The Lord prophesied that this new Babylon the Great would be inhabited by unclean animals. So a place where around 300 billion people once lived and inhabited and performed all kind of wickedness has now been reduced to a mere habitation of unclean animals. That's what it's talking about. Pastor Har always mentions that. This is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 8. It says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Because this is all about Israel, baby. And Isaiah chapter 34 is all about judgment to the other nations, primarily Esau, Idomia. I'm going to jump down. I'll just read it. It says, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. Now, all you have to do is listen to one of these lectures on what happens if a nuclear war was to happen, and they're always going to mention that smoke. They're always going to mention that smoke and how if there was a war, right, and there was no divine intervention, eventually everybody would die because the smoke would cloud the sky for so long that wouldn't no rain get through, and you would only have that food supply that you would have. They all talk about the same thing, so this is how it all makes sense. It says, the smoke thereof shall go up forever. Oh, not to mention, I think it's the same chapter, but I'm gonna see. The heavens rolled up as a scroll. That's the mushroom cloud. It says, the smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste, and none shall pass through it forever. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The cormorant is talking about an unclean bird, which is referred to, Blue Letter has it as like a pelican. And the bittern is like a hedgehog or a porcupine. It says, but the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl, also the raven, shall dwell in it, unclean animals. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her places, and nettles and brambles in the fortress thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet the wild beasts of the land, and the satyr shall cry against his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there, and find herself for a place of rest. And it's going to keep going on. It says, there shall be a great owl make her nest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures, unclean animals, also be gathered, every one with her mate. Because in Revelation 18:2, read it again, it says, he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That's referring to those creatures that the Most High just mentioned. Just to back that up, Zephaniah 2 verse 14, I'll start at 13. And he will stretch out his hand against the north, and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation, and dry like a wilderness. Nineveh is also referred to, American Babylon the Great is also referred to as Nineveh. It says, and the flocks shall lie down in the midst of her. All the beasts of the nations, both the cormorant and the bittern, shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, Esau, Edom, America, Basra, the so-called white man's land, that said in her heart, I am, and there is none else beside me. That's the pride and the spirit of Babylon, America. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Everyone that passes by her shall hiss and wag his hand. So this nuclear blast, imagine 200 million missiles detonating, which the bulk of those is going to hit America, this place, because it was referred to as the harlot, the woman that's on the dragon in the book of Revelations, as well as Isaiah chapter 47, the city that dwelleth without care, that said that I will never sit as a widow, meaning you will never experience loss. It's going to hit this place hard. You understand? 200 million. And they're going to keep making simulations and videos about this. You want to know why? Because they know that if a nuclear war was to ever happen, which is going to happen, absolutely nobody wins. So they're trying to raise the awareness, like, hey guys, y'all got to chill, because listen, these countries, the leaders, they understand the impact of another nation. Of a nuclear missile. If they get confirmation that the U.S., aka America, Babylon the Great, has shot a nuclear missile like to Russia, that's going to automatically detonate what you call a domino effect, and they're going to release everything. Then that's going to release this country to release everything. His allies are going to release everything, because you just can't receive a blow of a nuclear missile and not respond. You're going to respond back with your own. which is going to lead to a domino effect, and you're going to have all these missiles shot. And the Most High said that He's going to have 200 million that's going to do His bidding, especially on this land. This is why we need salvation. But it's amazing. Prophecy over 2,000 years ago, the Most High said this is the weapon He's going to use, and without a doubt, this is it. Nobody's, World War II, World War I, the thing was what? Guns, aircraft, Galley gun, all that stuff. What's the talk of the town now? It's nuclear missiles, like rap battles. One thing they get the crowd moving is their gun talk, right? Take this shotgun, blow you away and your daughter, and everybody like, ooh. What do Russia has to do? Do they have to boast about guns they have? No, they just go up there, get on the mic, and say, we have a nuclear missile that's capable of bypassing defense systems, and just step off. And that's going to have all these countries, even the White House, the Pentagon, scrambling. So we have to confirm, is that true? We got to up our defenses. That's the talk of the town now, not some gun, the nuclear missiles. With that, I hope it was edifying, and I say shalom.